Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we got another interesting move as defensive lineman of the Calgary Stampeders, Jaylen Hutchings, has been released as he signs a futures contract with the Minnesota Vikings. So just kind of for starters, this video is for kind of two main people. People that are Calgary Stampeders fans that are wanting to know more about their player, but then also for any NFL or Minnesota Vikings fans that are wanting to know more about this guy. You know, I heard that our Minnesota Vikings signed this guy. Who is this guy? What's he all about? You know, what can we maybe expect from him? So, Jaylen Hutchings. Oh, yes.
One other thing I'm going to throw, that the Calgary Stampers get to whimper on what they're losing.
Yes, the Stampeders have lost a lot of talent, as there are three players that we know that have went up to the National Football League this offseason so far. Now, and Jaylen Hutchings is kind of just one of the more recent ones. 6 foot, 304 pounds. He's 26 years old, born in Forney, Texas, went to school at Texas Tech on a very good Texas Tech team. He was there from 2018 through 2023, where he had gotten numerous sacks every year. His tackles had been relatively consistent, kind of on the upswing, especially towards the end of his time with Texas Tech. Was given kind of a little bit of a chance with the Chicago Bears, but it didn't really go anywhere in 2024. But in the CFL, if we kind of look at his 2 seasons, he played 2 seasons in the CFL in 2024 as well as 2025. In 2024, he only played 2 games, got 2 defensive tackles, barely any field time. 2025, 17 games played, 39 defensive tackles, 8 sacks in that time, and 1 forced fumble. So it was one of those things where in his time that he got in, he looked very dominant on that defensive line. The Stampeders defensive line in general done very, very well, but 8 sacks in that amount of time per the amount of field time he was getting, he had done very, very well. Like, this was just a great example of a guy, whenever he was given a chance, he really made the most of it. And so naturally, I think that's what caught the interest of some NFL clubs and, you know, the Minnesota Vikings as per one. So what is it that you can expect from a guy like this? I think obviously you're looking at a guy who's a hard worker, and then also a guy that's willing to kind of seize the moment. As one of the most important things in football, whether that's Canadian football or American football, is kind of earning that spot. There's both a lot of spots on a roster, but also not very many, you know, in terms of just how many guys are always fighting for that. Whether it's guys having to get onto the practice squad and through that eventually make their way onto starting offense or defense, whatever it is. That's usually how it goes in Canada. Guys start on special teams, make their way in through that. Great example would be a guy like Tanner Schmeckel in Winnipeg, getting his opportunity now this season after last season did very well, blocked a punt, all sorts of stuff. Jaylen Hutchings, he's only 26 years old, so he's still on the younger side of things. So do I think that this is necessarily a game changer for the Minnesota Vikings? Not necessarily, and in the sense of that the NFL is a bigger league than the CFL, but there's a lot of good talent in the CFL that I think a lot aren't aware of, and so this is a guy that, you know, you could be pleasantly surprised with. And so, what do you think about this move? What do you think about Jaylen Hutchings, Rick? Just curious for your thoughts on the matter.
So, a couple of things. First off, about your comment on people don't know talent up in Canada compared to the NFL. You also have to keep in mind some of these players do come from the U.S. college leagues, so
a lot of them do. There's a substantial portion of guys that you'll see in the NCAA. You may not see them in the NFL. You're wondering what happened to this guy? It's because he's playing up north in our league.
No, but I it's not even that. It's like, I will say this. A lot of the players this offseason, I've lost track of how many, have been signed to a 2-year deal. So typically for those in the NFL fans, when you get signed to the CFL, you get one of 3 contracts. You get a 1-year deal, you get a 2-year deal, which is team plus option, or if you get drafted.
And can you elaborate what the 1+1 is, or the team plus option?
So if
what does that mean for a fan that's wondering?
down in the States, they have it. They have it where it's not really franchise player, but you have a thing where where your team has the team option to pick up their contract. It's the same thing up here. If you sign a 1-year deal, you're guaranteed 1 year with the team.
And
But
the
if you
team
do good
can,
enough, they will pick up their option for a second year.
yes, meaning that you essentially can't become a free agent and go to another team immediately. The team can essentially get another rookie year out of you if you do very well. So say you go to the Canadian Football League, you sign on a 1-year deal as an American, you do really, really well. You can stay in the CFL, but it means that you don't have the potential to necessarily make more money or go to another squad until if the team decides to extend the second year. And that's up to the team whether they want to do that or not.
But where I was getting at is you were mentioning something about of how like people don't know where these players come from, like how well they do up in Canada. But
Yep.
you have to also remember, it's the same way the other way around too.
No, that's
All
true.
the players that come up to Canada from the States, we don't know about them, but people in the States who follow college football know a
Absolutely.
lot about them. So we have to now learn about these
This
players.
is why scouting
Once
is
they
so
do well
important.
in Canada, then
Yeah.
people in the States
Well, and
learn
Canadian
more about
football and
them.
American football is not exactly the same game. There are people that naturally, they might do really, really well in the NFL, come to the CFL, and despite the fact that the CFL, again, when it comes to talent, the NFL it has the best of the best. There's no question about it. They may not fit well in the CFL. It's just there are little differences in the game. Again, stuff like the waggle, the 3 downs, all sorts of stuff. And it just, some guys just click better with that and some don't. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is a difference in the game. And so, but it's one of those things where as a defensive player, especially a D lineman, one thing you have to realize about Canadian football, and this is where I think American football fans can maybe be excited, especially Minnesota Vikings fans about this guy, especially if you're playing him at D end or whatever, is that the CFL uses a wider field than the NFL, which means that outside running plays can be actually particularly effective in the CFL. There's just more room to run. So when you're a defensive end, if you're playing edge rusher, getting contain is even more important, because if you don't get it, it's not like that guy is going to get an extra 2-3 yards and then hit the sidelines. He's getting an extra 5, 10, 15 sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? Like the ramifications for not having contain as an edge rusher or defensive end, whatever you want to call it, is massive. And so it's one of those things, the fact that he's been able to do so well at getting those guys behind the line of scrimmage, those tackles for loss, those sacks, that's what's made Jaylen Hutchings very successful in the CFL. And so it makes sense that an NFL team wanted to pull the trigger with him. So
I would even go along the ways of saying like he was not a key piece. He was the key piece.
Yes.
To Calgary's defense this past year.
Yep. No, he was the big fish in the pond, So, is there anything else that you have there, Rick? I'd say closing remarks. If you're a Calgary Stampeders fan, this hurts, as this is a guy you do not want to be losing. But also at the same time, this looks very well on the Stampeders organization and the way they're able to develop talent, and for them to potentially get opportunities down in the NFL in the States.
No, I just want to throw this out there. This is a futures contract.
Yes, so there's no guarantees that this guy necessarily makes a roster. It's just that essentially they've locked him down so other teams can't pitch into him, and then he'll, go to camp, all sorts of stuff, and, maybe he's able to make the practice roster. Maybe he's not. It's just kind of a formally guaranteeing him some level of cash so that the Vikings have exclusivity of him for now until they decide to either keep him or release him. So I think that's all. Is there anything else you got there, Rick?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video, share it around, and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you haven't seen Canadian football. We love our league that we have up here in the Great White North, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you can learn all about it. We'll have a video coming out probably in the next couple of weeks, a video that I'm making very specifically on the differences between Canadian football and American football rules. So make sure you guys check that out. But also make sure if you guys haven't, make sure you guys join our Discord. Link in the description below to our Discord where we discuss all things CFL, NHL, all sorts of sports stuff. So make sure you guys go there and keep the conversation going. Even if you're an NFL fan, we'd love to have you there. So, and yeah, take care. See you guys next time.